Hi, it's Datache, and as a bona fide gamer, I'd say it's just a fact that my romantic experience completely dwarfs that of the general population. Hell, just to prove it, here's some glowing reviews from my previous romantic partners. I probably just misplaced the footage. Tell you what, how about I prove my pure gamer Chad energy by drawing ship art for the dumbest characters? Crack ships, if you will. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. You know, I can't entirely remember why this idea came to me in the first place, but there was a small part of me that thought this was a good idea, and that's only sometimes a bad omen in my experience. To be fully honest, I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen this pairing anywhere else. The two are remarkably similar with their paternal energy, weird inventions, and clear passion for evil. Mind you, both are clearly more complicated than that, but on a surface level you'd think people would be on board. That being said, as for the drawing itself, I referenced an image of a very passionate couple, and found myself facing the unique challenge of converting those two's unique anatomies into my art style. And by two, I mean doof. In Phineas and Ferb, his head is almost entirely facing one direction, for good reason, and figuring how I was going to handle that beforehand was painful, to say the least. Regardless, I think I found a compromise between his original form and my style in the end, although maybe I'd do it a bit different if I had another chance. Also, I might have given his outfit a bit more attention. Admittedly, it's a little flat. But that's the best part of this sort of thing, right? Rewatching the footage kinda makes me have to look back at this stuff. Well, that's enough rambling. Take it easy, enjoy the music, and I'll meet back up with you for the next speed draw. Before we move on, I do need to mention two things. One, this ship was named Doofenshmirtz, which I love and hate simultaneously. And second of all, the next pairing was an idea thrown out by my friend Burb on Discord. Thanks, Burb. Let's take a look, shall we? This video is coming out later than I'd like for a multitude of reasons, but this alone delayed it by like 3 days. Like, I love the energy of this pair. It really puts the crack in crack ship, but also made me feel like I was on crack. Why? Have you ever thought about the canonical height of Shrek? I did. How tall could he be, I thought? I was naive. 6 to 8 feet tall was the common consensus. What? Shadow's like 3 feet. How the fuck would this work? I decided to look up references for this. Surely the internet would provide short king, cross, tall, chubby boy art for me to study. My search was fruitless. So after about an hour and a half of thumbnail sketches spread across multiple days, I finally had a general idea of the best way to do this. I was gonna have Shrek cradle this bitch-ass motherfucker, while Shadow pretended he wasn't in his own personal heaven. And I think it worked. This video idea kind of came about from a want to draw more stuff with multiple characters interacting, since most of the stuff I make is peeps on their own. And this whole process kind of emphasized in my mind that I have to do more of this stuff. On one hand, pain. On the other, this did force me to do thumbnail sketches, and like also forced me not to just rely on the idea in my head with just one reference image. And in that aspect, this whole thing was a success. Sorry for rambling, but the whole ordeal kind of stressed me out, so I had to mention it somewhere in this video. That being said, I'm going to leave you with some tunes, and I'll be back for the final ship. See you in a bit. So like, this is definitely the most batshit pairing out of the ones I decided on. Funnily enough, I came up with this one on the toilet, so I guess that isn't too far from the truth. Anyway, when trying to figure out the pose for these two, I had to decide on who'd be taking the lead. Top or bottom, if you will. I did ask around, didn't really get a real response, but like, I would just think the person who asked me this was crazy anyway, so I don't really blame them. As such, I came to my own conclusion. Mr. on the Nintendo DS would probably submit to the Ultimate Family Guys as stepping stone, or whatever. Wait, would that mean Nagito's into getting stepped on? One of the rules I employed while doing this was to try and have both the characters' faces easily visible in the image, since the recognizability of the characters is what makes these funny in the first place. It's why I went against making the characters straight up make out, other than the general fear of what will happen to my soul after I die. That being said, most of the process was figuring out what I wanted to overlap, you know, where hands and arms would be in places and just general positioning stuff. I think it might have been a little limited by my lack of knowledge of how things work in a 3D space, but there's tons of time to learn how I'd want to handle stuff like that in the future. Ultimately, I could nitpick about this all day, but all things considered, I think the shading and coloring is a real improvement. I think my judgment with colours getting better, like simple things like keeping Nagito and Peter's green slightly different but not too saturated, does a lot more to make them pop from each other. And overall, I think the art is looking really fun, and I hope you guys are looking forward to the finished product. That's all from me, so let's vibe for the last couple minutes, and then I'll wrap this up. And there we have it. You know, I can't really say that this is the most cursed thing on the channel anymore, when I seem to just top that every other week. But, you know, stuff to look forward to at least. If you want to see new stuff when it arrives or catch up on the whole playlist, go ahead and literally tear that subscribe button limb from limb, you know, before it gets to you first. And I guess I'll see you in the next one.